On this episode, with the news of Texas House Speaker Joe Straus not seeking re-election next year, we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of primaries. And speaking of primaries, we'll talk with Autry Pruitt, who is running for Congress in Texas District 8 in the U.S. House of Representatives. All that on this episode of Trend Chat. Welcome everybody to another episode of Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And as always, if you want to connect with us, whether on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. And if you want to read some of my articles on politics, just go to politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, that Texas House Speaker Joe Straus has chosen not to seek re-election next year. And I don't want to show how I feel about it, but I heard about it and I was, hey, really? That was some good news. And that's the sound of conservatives all across Texas right there. It was a day of celebration. And I was one of them. I wasn't in Texas. I was in Minnesota at that time, but I was feeling it. I was like, yes! Just so glad that he's not running and holding up any conservative legislation as he's been doing his whole term as House Speaker. And, I mentioned, a number of times here on the podcast that whether I go across the country, go to different Republican meetings or Tea Party meetings and talk to conservatives, and when they find out I'm from Texas, all of a sudden they think I'm from some utopia, or that I guess conservatives have it so good in Texas. And then I have to disappoint them by saying, well, we deal with our establishment rhino types just like everybody else do. And the name I always bring up is Joe Straus. And sometimes I bring up Byron Cook as well. He's another one that is not going to seek re-election as well, which is another. Yeah. I mean, 2 in 1 day. I mean, really? that was great news. I'm like, wow. It really kind of came out of nowhere. But anyway, y'all calm down. But yeah, so I'll bring up those names, and I am so glad I don't have to bring them up anymore. I mean, obviously there are going to be others that I can use. There are always going to be, establishment types. You just can't get rid of them. And for one, you have a good portion of the Republican Party who are establishment types, so who are rhinos, I guess, if you want to say. So it's not like you're going to get rid of all of them. But I'm just glad I don't have to mention Straus in particular as being the speaker. So, but even though we were celebrating and everything's happy days are here once again, but I know one article that I read from Empower Texans, and I definitely agree, is that well, it said, this is not the time to celebrate. It's time to escalate. Well, okay, I can celebrate yesterday, but now it's time to move forward to basically the speaker race in general. Who's going to run for speaker, in Texas, and going from there. Now, this is why I talk about as far as primaries go, especially in the state of Texas, because now with Straus not going for re-election and not going to be, running for speaker, basically all the primaries in Texas is going to be very important, to the point that should be I guess it depends on what your priorities are. But for me, I would think that would be a very important question to whatever candidate is running. And as far as what type of person do you want to be Speaker of the House? Or if we have, a number of candidates who are out there looking to become Speaker, I guess you can ask about those individuals as far as what do you think about, this guy or this woman or whatever. And I think that's a very, big question to be asked to whoever is running for the House. And that's when it comes down as far as these primaries go, all these primaries will be important. Given if they have an opponent or not, or if especially in the primary, if they're running unopposed, then it is what it is. You kind of stuck with them for good or for worse, whichever. But I think that should be a focus, and at least one issue that should be brought up when they're out here on the campaign trail or whatnot. Now, as far as that, especially when I was talking about with Senator Flake, whether Straus is the speaker or not, and like I said, there's always going to be establishment types. I mean, you already have one that has announced he wants to run for speaker, and so there's probably going to be others, or maybe they just all get behind that one. I don't know, but hopefully, I hope more get into the race. Right now, I think we only really have two, and I feel like they maybe should have at least a couple more. But maybe with this whole news kind of catching everybody by surprise, maybe some people that maybe weren't thinking about it maybe will change their mind and run as well, because this is an opportunity to really get some conservative legislation passed, as opposed to having it held up by Straus and all his, lieutenants, cronies, or whatever you want to call them. And this is the opportunity to do it. Conservatives in Texas have been trying for years to either get Straus out or just to get conservative legislation passed some other way. But now he's out. No, he's out of here now. So this is a golden opportunity to really, like that article said, to escalate and to really stay on point and stay focused on who we want as conservatives to be the next House Speaker. Now, but that's what kind of goes all the way back to what I'm saying about the primaries, because this is going to be a very interesting primary, especially in Texas. But even across the country, you had Senator Flake, you have others like Senator Corker and others who are not running. So you're going to have a lot of competitive primaries going on, which I'm all for. I think we should have more competitive primaries. I think we should have more challengers to these incumbents. I mean, but unfortunately, a lot of times, people don't really get into, as far as voting until the general, which is, I guess, in having that logic from most people, unfortunately, that's not the time to really, it is the time to make your voice heard, because you are still voting for candidates. But at that time, you're limited to a select, a very few, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4. But the real time to make your voice known is during the primaries. So next year, when we're not just in Texas but across the country, when these primaries are coming up, this is the time to really make your voice known as far as who do you want to represent you. And this ain't the time to skip out and just wait. Well, I'll just wait till the general and just vote for whoever party I'm with. If you're a Democrat, you just wait until the general and vote for whoever the Democrat is. Or if you're a Republican, the same. You just wait until the general and wait and vote for whoever the Republican is. And a lot of times when the general come around, like, well, I don't really care for this this candidate, but they're gonna vote for him anyway because they're a Democrat or a Republican. And my question is, what, did you vote in the primary, or did you even, if you did vote in the primary, did you really go over who the candidates were? And unfortunately, a lot of them don't. They just wait till the general, and that is how you get the status quo. But the time to fight the status quo, a lot of people are always talking about, well, it's just the same old same going on, whether in whatever your state capital is or Washington, D.C. I always want to talk about, well, nothing's changing. It's all the same. Well, the time to do that is the primary. So if you take the time to actually see who's running, and if you want to go even further than that, run yourself, or actually before the primary starts, if you see someone that you think should run themselves, then support them and have them to file for candidacies so they can be in the primary. I mean, I know it sounds like not a lot of work, but it sounds like something that requires some effort, but that's what it takes if you want to actually see real change. So, but one thing I would say is that don't accept the argument about supporting a primary challenger, because someone will say, well, don't do that because that'll make the party look bad. It'll make the party look like we're in disarray because you're supporting a challenger to the incumbent. Please don't take that, because that incumbent made the party look bad by not doing what they said they were going to do. So if that person is not doing what they promised on the campaign trail, on the stump or whatnot, then that person should be kicked out, or at least should be challenged. So at least for the people who are listening, I hope you at least would do that. Don't be persuaded by someone wanting to make that argument. They can make other arguments, but that one in particular, as far as wanting to save face, because that whoever that incumbent is didn't do what they promised and just want to, I guess, make the party not look like it's that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I just feel like if that incumbent, if whoever that representative is, if they're not, I guess, sticking to their campaign promises, then they should definitely be kicked out. I mean, I'm kind of pausing about it because I'm also thinking about, as far as our interview with Autry Pruitt right now, but because that's kind of the same issue that we're kind of going to bring up in this interview. So Autry Pruitt is running for U.S. House Representatives in Texas District 8, and he is a media commentator, and he wrote a book, which I will get all into when I introduce him during this interview. So I'm just thinking when you hear this interview, just, this is another example as far as wanting to, if you want to get things done, if you want some real change, you have an opportunity in the primaries, and here's one person right now who is actually trying to create some change in his district. So without any further ado, here is our interview with Autry. Hello, this is Trent Chat, and we are pleased to have media commentator Autry Pruitt with us, and he is running for Congress in Texas District 8. He also authored a book called Plain Steak and Water. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
So I guess the first question is, what inspired you to run for Congress?
Well, so I was a Trump supporter. I was a Trump surrogate from the very, very beginning when everybody was laughing at me, because I knew something different was in the air, and that to get in and change Washington and return it to the people, we were just going to have a wholesale, dramatic shift in thinking and acting. So Donald Trump gets elected, and then from the very beginning we saw sidestepping, as my grandmother used to call it, by Speaker Ryan. From the very beginning we saw a little wishy-washy and movement from Kevin Brady, who's House Ways and Means Chair, who I'm running against. From the very beginning we saw all of this occurring, and I decided that someone has to get elected to the House that up front, without reservation, supports America First policies, that believes in conservative ideas and liberty, and that those ideas and that the Trump movement even surpasses Donald Trump himself. And so that's why I decided to get in, to put up or shut up. We have in this district the chair of the House Ways and Means, who he's probably in the top 20 the most powerful people in the United States, and he still won't get on the side of freedom and free markets and liberty. He refuses to speak out, like with the NFL controversy. He refused to speak out or even give an opinion on standing up for the national anthem. He refused to give an opinion on Second Amendment rights, and that's because in his heart he doesn't believe in Second Amendment rights with his voting record. So he refused to speak out when Veritas exposed Planned Parenthood and the selling of baby body parts. He refused to speak out on it. So I decided to get in the race. So the individuals in this district, we need someone that's going to speak out. And that's not afraid to speak up.
Okay. So you're running against Kevin Brady, and so it's Texas District 8, correct?
That's correct. That is correct.
So how's the campaign going as far as, when did you start the campaign, and how is it going so far?
Well, it started October 4th. So it's been 20 days. The campaign is going well. It's going well. It's rough because people are running scared. People are running, because they're like, I don't want to speak up. I've had people pull me aside and say, Autry, I support you, but speaking up against Kevin Brady, man, I don't know if I can do that. My job, by this, by that. It's amazing that one man locally holds so much power that he can prevent people from speaking up for truth, speaking up for freedom, and that's exactly what the problem is. And he knows that. That's where we have this problem, is that these politicians in Washington understand that this power that they're holding over people's individuals' jobs, that nobody will speak out. They're counting on that fear.
And I noticed I went back and looked through some pretty much like conservative websites that have like scorecards like Conservative Review or Heritage Action, and his record is pretty bad. I mean, it's like below the 60s on two of those scorecards. So I definitely, I know when people talk about as far as wanting, not wanting the status quo, these are the times to change that is during the primaries. I know one thing I also mentioned that you have that you authored a book called Plain Steaks and Water. So, how did that title come about, and also the book itself?
Well, so Mitt Romney gave a speech. And he said in his speech, if you remember, he was in Utah, and he was, before he decided to run up into New Jersey and meet Trump and try to get that Secretary of State gig, Mitt Romney gave a speech about Donald Trump, and he said, whatever happened to Trump planes, whatever happened to Trump steak, whatever happened to Trump water. And that's where I came up with the book, Planes, Steak, and Water, Defending Donald J. Trump. That's what I came up with the title. And this was the key, and I say this in the book. Yeah, whatever happened to him, so the Trump airline didn't really work out. Trump water didn't really work out. Trump steak didn't really work out, but Trump real estate worked out. In other words, he stuck out his neck to try something, and that's the difference between Trump and Washington. He notices a problem, and this is what we need in politicians, and so he's like, let me put my neck out there and see how we can solve this problem, versus Mitt Romney and all of this crew, including my opponent, Kevin Brady, including Speaker Ryan. All they want to do is poll test it. Let's see where everybody is. Let's take this question, take this survey, do this and do that. Think about it. That's what happened with the NFL, Brian. That's what happened with the NFL. Trump said, no, that's wrong, man. I think these folks should be standing up for the national anthem. There's just something that doesn't feel right about that, and he put it out there. Versus everybody else was nervous. Well, did we test it? Did we see what they think? Did we go to the media? Did we go to the Democrats? Did we go to the black folks? Go to the white folks? You know, that's the difference between Trump and Washington, and we need more of those individuals that are willing to stand up and be counted, that are willing to put their necks out there, and that's why I wrote the book. Because all the black folks were being sort of funny. I'm African American, for those of you listening, in case you don't know that. And all the black folks were sort of being a little funny. They were saying in the barbershop, behind the closed door, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to vote for Trump. Oh, yeah, I know some people are saying some racist, but, Obama didn't do anything. That's what they were saying. But no person of color at that time really was putting their neck out. And so I said, well, somebody has to do it and speak up. So that's what I did. And I took on, at that time, there's been many more issues than then, but at that time I took on all the little issues.
So, I guess what areas does Texas District 8 cover?
Okay, so that part of Leon, Madison, Walker, the primary, the biggest area is Montgomery County. That makes up probably 75-80% of the district. It's north of Houston. For those of you not in Texas, it's north of Houston. And AutryPruitt.com. And by the way, let me do that plug here and say, hey, donate, please. Donate. We need. I mean, Kevin Brady, without blinking, the crony insurance companies, the big banks, they're all started throwing money at him already without blinking.
And well, given that that you are close to Houston, I wanted to ask how things are going down there with the recovery so far.
Things are going great with the recovery. Individuals have banded together irregardless of any race, regardless of any station of life, regardless of what their religious beliefs are. They've banded together to help restore the community. But the effort is going well. There's still some rural areas that are really, really struggling to get back up. There are some individuals that just had no money, no credit, and they're struggling, but the county and the state and the federal government have stepped in to try to help where they could. So it's going well. The hurricane and as well as just stuff going on is showing me, man, these politicians are so crony. They're so corrupt. It's like they have forgotten actual people. I know the steak dinners are great, and the opera, and this concert, and hobnobbing, and this wine. But if you actually shake these individuals' hands and listen for 2 or 3 minutes to their stories, and a lot of them don't. I have people coming up to me in the district. They don't even want anything. All they want to do is just share their story. And I've had them say, listen, I know you can't do anything for me. I know you're not in a position of power to help me out. But I want to share the story because I'm not the only one. I'm just not scared to speak up. Now, I've had vets come up to me. I had a vet come to me the other day and said, I've tried to, Brady's office is giving me the runaround. I know you can't help me with my situation because you're not in a position to, but I want to see you in because I think if you get in, then myself and other vets who I know that are experiencing the same problems I have can make it. And so he shook my hand. I met his daughter. His wife is confined to a wheelchair. And it was just a powerful story of him telling me that he has been to Brady's office and Brady's staff, and Brady has lied to his face. They said they'd call him back. They haven't. And instead of coming to me asking for help or where I could point, he came and said, I know I'm in trouble, but I care about my wife and other people in similar situations so much that I will help you out.
Yeah.
That's a humbling thing. That's how bad it is. Now, people that are in need of help are coming to my campaign to help me so that maybe in a year and a half when the election's all over, they can get help themselves.
Yeah, given that the hurricane, especially Hurricane Harvey, is kind of faded out of the media scope now because, obviously with the 24/7 news cycle, there's a lot that still needs to be done down there, and definitely don't want people to forget as far as what's going on when it comes to the recovery down there in Houston. Now, I know you mentioned about the NFL, and that's also something I wanted to ask you. That's been the hot topic for the past couple of months, basically, and just want to ask you what your opinions on the whole anthem protest.
Well, so this is my opinion. This is a podcast, so I can say it like I want to say it. Stand your ass up for the national anthem. Put your hand over your heart. And if you feel that individuals that are minority are being oppressed and they don't have legal representation in the system, or their rights are continuously being violated in a systematic way, then get all of your players together, all of you rich players get together and take about $500,000. Well, they all make different types of money, so take anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million a person, put it into a legal defense fund, and then hold an announcement right before a game and say, we've now developed a fund for legal defense for anyone who is shot or brutalized by police officers. We've raised $125 million. This is the name of the charity. This is who runs the charity. And we're asking for donations nationally across the board. Because what these kids need, they don't need even someone to take a knee. If they're being brutalized and victimized, what they need is representation in the current court system we have. Taking a knee doesn't help anyone that claims to have a problem. And this is the issue. It's not about helping those who have a problem. It's about showboating. So they got rid of dancing and showboating in the end zone, and so now they've said, well, we're going to showboat up in front. That's what I think about it. If these players really care, put your money up. Put your money up. Don't tell me what you care about. Don't tell me your priorities. Let me see your checkbook. That'll tell me your priorities, and I guarantee their priorities are big houses, big cars, big diamonds, and women, and sometimes beating them up.
And also, I think ever since President Trump had made his comments a couple of weeks ago, I think now it's basically somewhat of a protest to Trump himself now, as opposed to what was the concern about him.
It's a protester. What are they protesting? What are they protesting? These idiots do not understand that the left that causes these protests, these left-wing people stand against everything the NFL is for. If there's ever a sport, besides boxing maybe, that is about manliness, traditional alpha male, making money, it's all, look at their commercials. They've cut back in pretty years, but it's football. Look, they still have cheerleaders. It's all about big, powerful men, strength, brute force, fighting it to the end, hot girls, money. That's what the NFL sport was about. And everybody is lying. They are lying to themselves if they think otherwise. It's the same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Everybody is running around trying to pretend that the NFL is something that it's not. We all know who's attracted to the NFL. Man, jeez, oh, Pete. You can find this stuff on the Disney Channel when it comes to jocks and nerds in a high school. These people are. This is the problem. Politicians are going along with this BS. Hollywood was going along with this BS until this Harvey Weinstein thing came about. It's a sack of lies, man. We're trying to avoid actual real humanity. Now, we're not saying don't be better. We're not saying that. Certainly, I'm not saying that, hey, we shouldn't have respect for women and it's male misogyny. No, but we're dealing with the reality of the situation. The game of football itself is about brute force. Those players get paid millions of dollars. And if you want to understand what's attractive about football beyond the game itself, look at a show called Ballers with, I believe, the rock stars in that show. And it's all about the league and girls and money and getting and being able to achieve. That's what it's about. And these guys are running around trying to turn the football into the next charity and the next evolution of the Democrat Party. And they're lying to themselves. It's like when that guy said that comment about that girl when he said, he laughed and said, oh, it's so funny to hear a woman talk about routes and that kind of stuff. I don't think he meant anything pejorative by it. No. He didn't mean anything pejorative by it. He was just saying, man, this is just unreal. It's unheard of. You can't even speak now. Everybody's a lot. This is the problem. Everybody is running around lying to themselves, but then behind closed doors, they're doing what they want to do and saying what they want to say. And then when people are like, well, people are racist, Autry, we don't want the racism. Yes, I do. If you are racist as a mug, I want you to put it on your window. I want you to put your Confederate flag on. I want you to do everything you can to show me you're racist. So that way, when you start coming down the street, I know who I can talk to and who I can and know what you're about. And now we're in this thing where everybody has to hide everything. You got to hide your support for Trump. You got to hide your support for whoever you support, Roy Moore. And you got to hide it, hide this, hide that, so you don't know if you're really talking to a real person. Yes, if you are a member of the Klan, I want you to be able to walk around with a sticker that says, I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan. That way I know to walk the other way.
I mentioned about Cam Newton a couple of weeks ago, and the quote that got him in hot water is not the quote that I thought that should have been focused on, because like a couple of days before that, he mentioned about Colin Kaepernick being that he paid the ultimate sacrifice because of of this protest that he basically started, and the fact that he's not able to not be able to be on the team now. I thought that should have gotten a lot more attention as opposed to that little throwaway comment talking about female reporters en route. I know we only have a limited amount of time, so I definitely appreciate you coming on, and just let us know how to get in touch with you on social media and your website. And
yes. So Twitter is AUT as in Tom R-Y, AUTRY is Twitter. You can find me there. You go to Facebook, Autry Pruitt, AUTRY-PRUITT. I'm a verified member on both platforms, so if you don't see the blue check, it's not me. This is just this whole thing where people aren't being allowed to speak, and then there's no thought. There's no it's so crazy. And this is the thing, people don't even know this thing with Cam Newton, this is why it bothers me so much. Because people didn't even take the time to understand where he was saying, oh, it's funny to hear a woman talk about routes and hear talk about it wasn't a degradation, it was a comment. If anything, it actually was a compliment, because he was like, oh man, that's so new. It wasn't meant to be pejorative.
Yeah.
The NFL is bowing to the left, and they don't understand that the left wants to. The left has for years been after the National Football League. Remember, players dancing in the end zone, that's unfair to tease them. You mean to tell me after you've hit and bludgeoned a person, a guy's feelings are going to get hurt because you celebrate in the end zone? That's the problem. These people have lost their damn minds. So let me stop, because if I'm going to start getting upset, and then people are going to use that against me on the campaign trail and say I'm a loose cannon. But so anyway, thank you so much, Brian, for having me.
No, thank you so much.
Yep, and thanks to Autry for coming on, and once again, he is running for the U.S. House of Representatives for Texas District 8, and Yep. I just want to make sure to emphasize that again. So, like I said, thanks to Autry for joining us, and thank you for listening. And hopefully, with the whole thing with Joe Straus not running for re-election, hopefully I might be able to get someone from the Texas House to speak about it. If so, we'll play that on Thursday. Well, not Thursday, on Tuesday's episode next week. So, that's it for us this week, and I appreciate y'all listening. Like I said, if y'all want to connect with us on social media, whether Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. And with that, until next week, we'll chat with you later.